Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's Tracy Root with the Gather community, and I am here with the fabulous Kat Mitchell, straight from Northern California. Kat, I'm so excited that we're doing this spotlight on you today because we've known each other for a few years now, and the things that you have been building to evolve your business and yourself, but your business are really amazing and remarkable and awesome. And I've been watching, as you've gone through new certifications and new concepts. And it's been so wonderful to watch because it helps you become that much more confident and sure about what you're doing, but also your speaking has improved, everything's improved. And so I'm really excited to reintroduce you to the Gather community and the world out there. So tell everyone a little bit about your journey and how you became Kat, as your name says, Kat, the Mind Shift Mentor.
So I am Kat. I own Path to Discovery Coaching and Consulting. And wouldn't you know it, that I have been on my own path of discovery this whole time that I've had this business. And it is that journey that I've been on from being in the corporate life to having that identity of being a caregiver for so many years, and then really going through my own transformation with the neuroscience and the NLP and the quantum physics, and really understanding the power of our unconscious mind and the stories that we tell ourselves based on what we think is true. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And
So
that's what I
good.
was just telling Tracy is, oh, that's a story. That really isn't true.
Well, so tell us, so start us off a little bit so people can understand, because I came from the corporate world. I found coaching, but I didn't find it the same way that you found it, really. So tell us, what was it like in the corporate world? You were already doing coaching actually in corporate. Give us a little bit of a timeline on how you got here first.
So I came from corporate, and I came from software engineering, being a lead for multiple multinational teams. And I got introduced to coaching to help work with my teams, help them communicate better, because some were from India, some were from other countries and based in the US, and then some were from the US. So as you know, as you probably know, there's a lot of cultural differences, which means there's a lot of different ways that people communicate. And building large software projects, you want everybody on the same page, because we can all go on the same path together if we all know what we're each talking about
Yeah.
and how we can work together. So that's where my coaching started. And then I left corporate when I was taking care of my mom. My brother had a stroke, and I really wasn't sure how I was going to be able to keep this work pace up and be able to take care of family at the same time. So I made the conscious decision to step away from work, not knowing what was next for me, and just figure things out.
So you
Maybe
went,
not the
you
best
were
plan.
you were caregiving full time, your mom and your brother,
Yes.
and not working at all, not coaching at all, not doing anything, just supporting them.
No. And then that was in 2019. In 2020, January, I'm like, all right, now's the time to
I know how that story goes.
now's the time to start a business and figure out what's next, because I can't keep not making money, can't keep not doing something
Yeah.
to bring the income in. Well, yeah, I wasn't expecting this whole pandemic thing to happen and the whole world to shut down. And I had no idea really how to create a business in that environment, when I was so used to being in corporate and that paycheck would just land in my bank account.
Yeah.
So to say the least, I've had my ebbs and flows, and path changes and my own discoveries and all of that on my journey.
Yeah. So you went from, yeah, the example of the paycheck just comes in to figuring out how to be an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. Many of us who are in that place, that's something we can absolutely, we have the same story, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to motivate myself to actually work all day, or even like how to design something that was going to actually monetize and how to actually make money. So I know that when I first met you, you were heavily involved with the International Coaching Federation and in your local chapter, and I got to speak for them thanks to you. And where was the shift for you when you actually realized, okay, I know what this business is going to look like, and what did that look like at that time?
So my coaching journey as an entrepreneur or solopreneur has taken a few different shifts. Initially, even though I came from corporate, I was focused on how can I help other caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the challenges that are faced in managing that whole family dynamic
Yeah.
of putting the pieces in place and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves
Yep.
and not just totally depleting ourselves, serving from an empty cup, so to speak.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of times on my journey where it's like, oh, I'll do all this. And it's like, no, I don't have enough bandwidth in life to do all of this. So let's take this out and let's take this out and let's
Mhm.
narrow the focus a
Yeah,
little.
narrow, folks. Niche down, as they say, right?
Well, and it's not just niching in the coaching business, but it's niching life, really.
Yes.
It's really defining and designing life and
Yes.
not just looking at it from I'm just the business owner, because I'm not. I have my own life, and it's really looking at what is it I want to do, who is it I want to be,
Yes.
and know that I'm not just the solopreneur. I am more than that. And what are all those identities that encompass who I am and the direction and path that I want to go?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I love talking about identity because sometimes the things that are part of our identity are serving us, and sometimes they're not. And so that goes into, like you were talking about a minute ago, the idea of the stories that may or may not be true that we tell ourselves. And should we actually believe the things that we think? Right. So tell us
Right.
how you started to recognize some of those stories for yourself.
So I have to say, I might be a little slower than some because
I think everyone feels that way.
it's like you dip your toe into the personal development, and then you start putting a foot in, and then you're like soaking in it. And it's like it wasn't until I started mixing it was like I was mixing my own brew of neuroscience with the NLP and the quantum physics, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then it started hitting me. I'm doing 100 days of in the inner work, really looking at and being aware of what my stories are, or what I'm saying to myself and going, yeah, that's a story. That's not really true, but my evidence says it's true. So it must be true, right?
Right.
No.
So, okay, so you're doing all this inner work and you've done all of this research and training on NLP and neuroscience and all of these things. And now your business has started to take that same turn. So tell us how that shows up for the clients that you're working with, because it's not just caregivers anymore. It's a whole
Well, it's,
different, I mean, it's
yeah.
still, people, and obviously caregivers are close to your heart after everything that you've experienced. But tell us what your business is looking like now that you've had all of this personal shift.
So it's really looking at those women that are in that career, but are really not living their lives.
Mm,
It's like they're this single focus of the family, the taking care of everyone else, and focusing on career. And then on the weekends, it's pure exhaustion. And oh, by the way, I didn't complete that project. So I got to really do more work on that project,
mm,
and not really thinking about what are our dreams? What is it we want? What is it, we would love to experience in life?
yeah.
Because life is going to keep going whether we say yes to us or not. And it's
Mhm.
really helping women understand they have the choice and the power to say yes to
Yep.
themselves.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So important. Honestly, I was just thinking about that this morning with my last podcast episode. It's like all about saying yes to yourself, to new things, to experiences you've never done before. The idea that the only way we grow is getting out of our comfort zone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you are mostly working then with women who maybe have jobs that are looking for more out of their life, or are you working with entrepreneurs, or is it only women that you're working with? Give me some clarity.
I would say I'll say 90% women, only because I do have a mental health contract that I still work with.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And I do have the occasional man that comes in through that. So I don't say no to men, but it's mostly women,
Okay.
and mostly in career, with the occasion of the new entrepreneurs. So maybe they came from the corporate
Yeah,
space,
they've already made
because
their
I'm
shift from corporate to their own thing, but they're still trying to figure it all out.
right, or they're mid shift,
Yeah,
you
okay.
know.
Hmm.
So it's like, I know I don't want to be in corporate anymore, and I already hung up that, you know, said no to no
Yeah,
more corporate.
created an intention, but
Yeah,
haven't actually finished the actions yet.
yeah, something
Yeah,
like that. And it's like, all right, now what?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
I want
love
to make the
that
shift.
because
Now what?
when I started coaching, I was coaching, as the side hustle situation for about 6 months, and then I decided I was going to leave, and I told my bosses, I said, I'm going to leave in, I guess it was like 12 weeks or so. I gave them a lot of notice because I had a lease from my house that I was renting and all these things. I'm like, okay, between now and this date, I'm going to start phasing out. Started to reduce my hours so that I could increase hours in my business. It worked out great, but at the same time, not everyone has that capability or that flexibility with their job. I had been there for 17 years, so they were very open
Oh,
to letting me hang out for a long time after I had told them I'm leaving. They're like, but okay, good. You're going to leave slowly. Okay, we're into that. But not everyone has that, fortunate is that fortunate.
yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I love that. And so tell us some of the specific, um, like give us an example of a client that maybe you've started working with that you're using these newfound tools. And one of the things you mentioned about your own journey was the idea of like peeling away an onion and finding like over time more and more what it is you really want and how to recognize that and actually take action on that. So give us an example of how that's been going.
So for me, it was really understanding that connection with our behaviors
Mm,
and our thoughts and our emotions. And we don't really, for me, I wasn't putting the pieces together.
you kind of
I was like, oh, this is a
compartmentalized
behavior.
all of the things.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
this is a behavior over here. Oh, I got an emotion over here. Oh, now I got a thought coming in. But I wasn't stringing them together. I was
yeah,
leaving them all separated, you know. And then when I started putting them together, it's like, all right, when I have this thought, I do this thing. And when
nice.
when I'm thinking this, or when I have this story going on in my head, then my reaction or my response to that is I do this thing, but it doesn't really serve me,
Right.
except for it does serve me. And, oh, so,
A
that's where,
distraction or
yeah,
yeah.
distraction, the procrastination. It's like, well, I'm not going to get it done because it's not me.
Yeah.
It's
Well, so do you find that what it comes down to is like we do the thing that's the easiest and least painful first,
oh
unless
yeah,
we're
absolutely.
conscious about what it is, and until we notice that that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and now with all of the tools and understandings that I have and what I've learned over the years,
Mhm.
I'm able to now help my clients put those pieces together, understand what those thoughts and emotions are telling them, what those behaviors are really, you know, what the foundation of that story is
Yeah.
that they're telling themselves, what the evidence is showing, even if it's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I didn't do. Listened to Katie, what's her name? I want to say Katie Holmes, but that's an actress. Katie Briggs, that's a chiropractor here in my neighborhood. Katie something. Oh, Byron Katie, that's what it is.
Oh,
Are you familiar with Byron Katie? Yeah, so
yeah.
Byron, right? That's the whole kind of cornerstone is there's a story that you're telling yourself. Is that true? What if the opposite was true? What if it was even more like that was the whole journey of understanding that what you're telling yourself is the story that you tell yourself in order to keep yourself safe or make things easy or, so that you don't have to face the things that
Right.
are challenging or scary or whatever. Uh,
Yeah. And I can remember probably 3 years ago, maybe, I
mhm.
looked at the Byron Katie, the work
Yeah,
that
like
she does,
yep.
and, tried to do, I think that she has a worksheet or something, tried to do that worksheet.
Yeah.
And I can say that back then, I definitely was not ready for it because I
Yeah.
looked at it and went, yeah, I don't think that's me. Yeah, I don't think that resonates with me, or no, I'm not there.
Yeah. Isn't that so good? I mean, that happens to so many of us where you do have to be ready. You have to be so open to understanding how wrong you are, right? How totally like how you just didn't get it before. That openness to be able to accept hearing that, especially not only from someone else who's trying to guide you and help you, but to actually admit it to yourself, even like say it out loud. Oh,
Yeah. Well, and I was on a call recently with John Assaraf. It's a name that
that's a name
most
that
of
people
us
know.
know.
Yep. John
Yeah.
Assaraf.
So I was on a call with John Assaraf, and his question, to everyone was, so are you interested or are you committed? And I'm like,
Committed. Yes.
well, I'm interested. It's like, no, are you interested or are you committed?
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't until he described it of interested is, yeah, you'll think about doing the work, you
Right.
know, but you probably won't get it done. And I'm just going to say, you probably won't succeed. But if you're committed, then you'll start doing the work. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a great one. I had forgotten about. Thanks for reminding me about that one and for all of us because the idea of interested versus committed is huge.
Yeah.
I just recently started my podcast and I've been interested in doing a podcast for several years. But I committed to doing it, to starting it, and it's very exciting as opposed to scary and something I don't want to do, right? You don't
Hmm.
procrastinate the things that you're committed for.
Hmm.
You only procrastinate the things that you are only interested in,
Right.
right? And when people talk about suffering from procrastination, it's like, well, how committed are you to actually doing that? Because if you can't say, I'm committed to it and really mean it, Like you could still say it, but you have to mean it. But until you mean it, it's not like you're not gonna prioritize it over your
Yeah.
comfort.
The motivation isn't there.
Yeah.
You're finding excuses to go a different direction.
Right.
Yeah. But on, on that topic of procrastination,
Mhm.
I was reading something, studying something somewhere, I couldn't tell you where. But also on the flip side of that coin that I wasn't aware of is when we're on this path of perfection, we
Mhm.
tend to procrastinate also because
Yeah.
it's like it's got to be perfect, 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 but it's never perfect.
Right.
So,
Well, that's so
so
good too. Like you can decide, you can find out whether you're committed to perfection or committed to action. Those are two different things, right? Oh, that's so
true.
good. That's good. Or committed to like, I'm committed to getting those episodes out into the world. I'm not committed to them being perfect. And
Yeah.
to be able to admit that is huge, is important, right? And there's a lot of people, those of us who identify as recovering perfectionists, right? We can recognize that that is something that we used to do and that it kept us from actually getting things done. And, I like to
Yeah.
tell people, like, I don't know why we all, like, no one's attracted to perfection. So why do we keep trying to be it? It just
Yeah.
doesn't like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, right? When we see someone who's like perfect, like a supermodel, whatever, something like that. And yeah, it's nice or whatever, they're beautiful, but like, do we want to know more about them? Or I don't know. I mean, you can go, I'm gonna cut that out. That didn't make sense at all. Anyway, uh, the idea of perfection is something because it's unattainable. Why do we keep trying to attain it?
Well, and a lot of it comes down to that comparison, that
Mhm.
inner feeling of not being good enough, that it helps us.
It gives us the
um
excuse to just
there
not
you go.
try as hard.
Yeah, it gives us that excuse to shine a light on, well, I'm not like them, so therefore I have to be, you know, be perfect
Better
in a
or be
different
perfect.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it goes the other way. I'm not like them, so why do I even try? Right. So you give up.
Right.
So it's like that. It's
Yes.
two sides of that kind of same coin. If I'm not perfect, I have to keep working towards perfect, or I should just give up.
Yeah.
Right. Heads, tails.
Yeah. Well, and it's our perception. Are
Yeah.
they really perfect, or is that the only side that we see?
No, they're not. And that's the whole point, right? We look
Yeah.
at them thinking that there's perfection to be attained and it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm,
We're seeing this one image, this one visual
right.
that has caught our eye, but the full package,
Yeah.
they're human.
People say that a lot about social media, right? Like people only show their best sides, and that might be
Mhm.
true. But if you allow yourself to remember that even if you're only seeing their best side, they're still not perfect, then you can handle seeing those kinds of images because
Yeah.
you have a rational thought about them instead of an irrational view of them being perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which means we can
Well,
stay
and
in social media without worrying about it.
right. Yes. Well, and that brings us back around to stories. If we're always seeing the perfect images
Yep.
and we're always attaching, that to our own story or using that as our evidence of, well, I'm not them, so therefore I must not be good enough,
Yep.
or I'm not young enough, or I'm not, whatever, because those are the images we're seeing.
Right.
That's part of our stories.
Yep. Oh, so good. So good. Well, like I said, I love this journey that you've been on and all of this. Like you're the way that you talk, because a lot of it is not that dissimilar to how you were working, a year ago. But the 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 science and all of that underneath how you explain things and everything makes so much sense and just brings this richness to what you're bringing to the table with your clients, with the Gather community, when you speak, etc. So I'm just super happy for you, and I'm thrilled to have you in our community. Of course, you know that. But really glad to spend this time together so that hopefully someone new will get to know you a little better through this video. And, you know, if you come to the Gather out there in the world, people, if you come to the Gather community events and Kat is speaking, I guarantee you that you'll come away from one of her talks or her workshops with a new way of thinking about something that was, you know, maybe holding you back. So definitely take a
Absolutely.
look at how to reach Kat, how to follow her on socials, and, you know, hang out with us here in the Gather community because you'll see her soon. I am sure of it. So Kat,
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for your time today, for spending it with me, for allowing me to spotlight you in this way, and appreciate you being a part of the Gather community. And, you know, all your contact info is findable here on our website and all of that. So people will be able to reach out to you. And do you have any like final thought you want to share with the world?
I will say know that you have a choice and know that we all have stories. And for as long as we continue on our paths, it's really giving yourself permission to uncover the stories and step into your greatness and know that you are a gift to the world.
Beautiful. Perfect. And not perfection perfect, but just fabulous. All right, Kat, thank you again so much. And everyone else, we'll see you again super soon. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.